as a country, we're over-retailed as a sector, and there'll be winners and losers, and the market is healthy, and the consumers are spending, but they're not spending on the middle of the market.
Speaking of which, I remember, Barb, a time where the thinking on Tiffany was you got to get people to go more than engagement and, Valentine's Day. That silver was going to be big, all of that. Would LVMH, do you think, take it down market or up?
Oh, I think LVMH would bring it up. I mean, if there is such a way to go up for Tiffany's, because they're such a great luxury brand. I think what they bring to the party, besides capital and having the same kind of a luxury brand and feel, is that they have seem to have better technology. They're very good at innovating, and Tiffany has struggled the last few years, which I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, I think Tiffany's not struggled with quality, they've struggled with design and with coming out new ways, modern ways, interesting ways to express their brand above and beyond that beautiful blue shade that we all know so well and has been their mark for the last 50 years.
What other you mentioned other players might want to play in this? Who?
The two most obvious, there's Richemont, which is the world's leader in luxury jewelry, owns Cartier, Van Cleef & Arpels, many other, mostly European brands. They would be the most obvious. They're not as big as LVMH, but they're bigger in watch and jewelry. The other one would be Kering, which is LVMH's closest competitor in the fashion and accessories sector, also French-owned.
We got Black Friday literally a week away. We're going into peak shipping season. FedEx and UPS just came out with their numbers. Both are expecting another record season due to e-commerce growth. Luxury hasn't necessarily participated in the e-commerce craze as much. Do you think that's starting to change, especially when you do have some of these online retailers, albeit maybe in the secondhand market like RealReal and some of the others coming in? Do you think that's going to change?
I don't think it'll change much in fashion and soft goods. Returns in luxury ready-to-wear are very, very high. Some of the players have as high as 50% returns because fit is so important when you're spending that kind of money. If you're buying if you're buying athleisure, you can be a lot more forgiving with how things fit on you. And I also think that the customer really needs to feel and touch things when they're spending at the high end of the market. Other segments of luxury, I think that's where the growth will be.
Sort of a left turn here, but I know you have thoughts on this Tesla truck.
Oh, boy.
What do you think?
Having just written a book about aesthetic intelligence, I think it is an example of really poor failure of aesthetic intelligence. It is the ugliest looking vehicle I've seen since the AMC Gremlin.
Wow.
I'm not optimistic.
A lot of viewers will remember what that car looks like too, the Gremlin. But you don't believe Elon is shooting for a pickup owner who...
a design statement.
Yeah, it has a different state of mind than what we think a pickup owner is.
I'm sure that's what he's shooting for. The reality is Americans love pickup trucks, but Americans who love pickup trucks are not necessarily prioritizing environmental sustainability. So point number one, there's a built-in conflict there. And point number two, I still think he just made such a mess in the design front. I was optimistic. I'd say the only thing that's good that came of it is the price point, which was lower than people expected.
All right. Well, it's one we're going to keep watching. Pauline Brown, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Congrats on the new book.
Thank you. We
have got 24 minutes before the bell, and here is where we stand. All the major averages are higher right now. The Dow's up 99. The S&P's up 0.2%. NASDAQ, Russell, transport's all higher as well. Up next, we've got your last chance trade.
Plus, will that Cybertruck glass goof end up shattering sales of the new vehicle? Walter Isaacson's going to talk about some of the other botched product launches we've seen in the years past and what that could signal about the outlook for the truck. Don't go away.
What if your email was organized by project and not by date? What if everyone looked at the same thing instead of their own inbox? Then it wouldn't be email at all. Forget your fragmented, jumbled inbox and make the change to channels in Slack. Spaces dedicated to individual projects, topics, or teams. All your communication is neatly organized and everyone is on the same page. Slack. Choose a better way to work. Get started at slack.com.
If you're planning on driving this weekend, expect delays on the A406 North Circular Road. There'll be road closures between Tottenham and Edmonton from 10 p.m. on Friday the 22nd of November to 5 a.m. on Monday the 25th of November, while we carry out essential maintenance and repairs. All roads in the surrounding area will be extremely busy, so please allow more time for your journey and expect delays in the area. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
At Asda this Christmas, treat them to a gift or two, or three, with 3 for 2 on a wide range of beauty and toiletry gift sets, from Dove, Lynx, Bayliss and Harding and many more. Asda, let's make Christmas extra special. Selected stores and lines subject to availability. Individual prices £1 to £20, cheapest item free.
At Ring, we've reinvented the doorbell. So no matter where you are, you can watch over your home and the things you care about. Ring Video Doorbell streams HD video and two-way talk straight to your phone, so you can speak to whoever's at your door from anywhere.
Delivery.
Oh, great. Could you leave it with my neighbour, please?
Sure, no problem.
See, hear and speak to whoever's at your door from wherever you are with Ring Video Doorbell. For exclusive Black Friday offers on selected video doorbells and cameras, visit ring.com and major retailers.
In case you didn't know, TuneIn lets you listen to the same radio stations you pick up on your home or car radio, except you can hear them from anywhere. If you want to find a station from somewhere else in the world, navigate to the By Location section under Browse. Keep exploring with TuneIn.
Don't want to miss a second of your NFL team's next matchup? Let TuneIn remind you. Just make sure notifications are enabled on your phone and search for your team profile on the TuneIn app. Then, find the game you want under Events and tap Notify Me. We'll send you an alert as soon as live coverage begins. College football is live on TuneIn. Listen for free to games from more than 140 schools all season long.
To the 10, all the way to the checkerboard. But he stays on his feet and scores.
Number 2 Ohio State looks to clinch the Big Ten Eastern Title Division outright and a spot in the Big Ten Conference Championship game as they host the 9th-ranked Penn State Nittany Lions in Columbus. This Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Listen to every call and every game of your school all season long for free on TuneIn. Penn State at Ohio State. Just search college to listen today.
Welcome back to Closing Bell. Sentiment, data, and trade hopes helping the S&P hang on to 3109. Dow up almost 91 points thanks to Pfizer and Boeing.
Barbara, what's your last chance trade?
I think a great buying opportunity has opened up in Netflix. Even though it's bounced off its low, I think it still has a long way to go. And it's been concerns over competition. It was concerns over subscriber growth. The third quarter, everybody was, hanging by their fingernails what would happen, but there was no slowdown in evidence. They beat earnings, revenue was up 30%. And I think people are really underestimating the international markets, how big that can be for them, because it's still very early stages in countries like India or Japan or Korea and a lot of other countries. And as far as competition, I mean, they have been against big competition the whole time, whether it's pay TV with bundles of news and sports, or endless channels with all this content. And so the new competition coming in, I mean, you look at Disney. Now, Disney, I think, will be very successful. They've got a great library, but the library is small. It's 600 titles. And so for them to do they'll maybe do who knows how many. It'll cost them a lot. And that's compared to Netflix's 6,000 titles. And they're bringing out another almost 60 new things this fall. So their content, the quality and the quantity, I think it's overwhelming. So I think it's a great buying opportunity in here. And I think the stock can be up 30-50% from here, just over a year.
Interesting. So you think the market is prepped for maybe a rise in churn? We're ready for that?
Yeah, I think they think there's going to be churn. I think they're going to have their, all this competition's going to eat their lunch, but it's going to take a long time for the competition to scale up and a lot of money. So it is not going to happen that quickly. It'll be years, in my view. And even, as content, third-party content goes off, even that will be slow. So I think people are really underestimating the power of this because let's remember, there is this big secular thing going on with this, people wanting more and more streamline to watch streaming videos. And that's not remotely over.
All right. Last chance trade, Netflix. Shares are fractionally lower today. We got 18 minutes before the bell. Here is where we stand right now. Dow's up 0.3%. S&P is also up by 5 points right now, 3108. NASDAQ, Russell higher. We're poised for losses for all the major averages for the week, though.
When we come back, uninterrupted coverage of the final minutes of trade in the market zone. Plus, we'll hear from one analyst who likes the design of Tesla's new truck and says it's going to resonate with consumers.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like 4 reels. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
If you're planning on driving this weekend, expect delays on the A406 North Circular Road. There'll be road closures between Tottenham and Edmonton from 10 p.m. on Friday the 22nd of November to 5 a.m. on Monday the 25th of November, while we carry out essential maintenance and repairs. All roads in the surrounding area will be extremely busy, so please allow more time for your journey and expect delays in the area. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Christmas is such a magical time of year for little ones. But why should the big kids miss out? This season, take the family to Santa's Wonderlab at West London Audi. You get to test drive the latest Audi models, and the children get to test drive the latest toys with Santa. There's something for the whole family. Visit santaswonderlab.com to find out more about how to register for your place at Santa's Wonderlab this Christmas.
Start hearing more of what you want.
Upgrade to TuneIn Premium and get over 45 commercial-free music stations,
Live commercial-free news,
and every live NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL game.
Visit tunein.com/premium to upgrade.
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
Hey NFL fans, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you have unlimited access to every team and every game in the league. Listen live as it happens or on demand. Anytime, anywhere. All season long. Search NFL today.
Want to know a quick, easy way to see if your favorite podcasts have a new episode available? Just go to the home screen on your TuneIn and see the latest editions under the Your New Episode section. Happy listening.
The swagger of a perfect dunk. The rush of a three made from all the way downtown. The adrenaline surge of great defense. Can you feel the goosebumps yet? There's nothing like live NBA and nothing like listening live on TuneIn.
Giannis down the lane to the rim, throwing right corner three. Another
TuneIn Premium brings you every minute of the NBA season, so you can be there when it matters most. Never miss the action as it happens. Hear the ball you love. Hear it live on TuneIn. Search NBA today to start listening.
13 minutes left in the trading day and the trading week. We're now in the closing bell market zone. Commercial-free coverage of all the action going into the close.
CNBC senior markets commentator Mike Santoli is here to break down these crucial moments of the trading day. And today we've got Barbara Duran from BD8 Capital Partners here as well. We're going to start, though, with Apple reportedly seeing soaring demand for its AirPods, and Josh Lipton has the details for us. Josh.
So, Morgan, no surprise here. AirPods seem to blanket San Francisco, and now a new report says shipments of Apple's wireless earphones will double to 60 million units in 2019, driven by demand for those new pricier AirPods Pro model. Apple declining comment to CNBC, but investors care because even as iPhone sales are falling, the wearables, home, and accessory segment, which includes AirPods, surged 54% in the last reported quarter to a better than expected $6.5 billion. And just this week, remember, Microsoft saying that its AirPods competitor called Surface Airbuds are delayed until the spring. Guys, back to you.
Josh Lipton, thank you. Mike, it's not helping the stock today. We've seen a little bit of a breather here.
Not today. I mean, the stock has been straight up for a while right now. And I do think this falls in the category of, well, that's nice. And over time, it can build into something that maybe does make its way more meaningfully into the valuation. But it's still in that zone of, we don't really know how to model it. We don't know if there's an upgrade cycle that's attached to those products. And iPhone is still the bulk of the margin that the company collects. So I think it's only good, but it's not necessarily the main motivator.
Although we always say, oh, it's not going to move the needle, but you put together enough small categories, eventually the needle starts to move.
I think that's what's going on.
And I think it shows the power of their brand and the loyalty of their customers. They expect quality and they'll pay up for it.
All right, Tesla remains an enigma today. That stock's under pressure after unveiling its brand new Cybertruck last night. The pickup truck's design was met with harsh criticism by some, but at least one analyst disagrees. Jed Dorsheimer, managing director at Canaccord, calls the truck design unique, futuristic, says it will resonate with customers and lead to solid demand. He was at the event last night, and he joins us tonight by phone. Jed, thanks for phoning in. Good to talk to you.
You too. I just landed from my LA trip.
What did you see that you liked, and do you think he's getting some free media out of the fact that demonstration went wrong?
Possibly. But for me, forget about what the truck looks like. Look at the performance specs. The specs are suggestive. If you look at Tesla as a stock, it's about transitioning from low-volume, high-priced vehicles to high-volume, low-price electric vehicles. That was the challenge. That's what they're coming through. We got a great quarter of profitability last quarter. If they can keep that up through next year, stock's going higher. Look at the specs. The specs from this truck suggest that you've got costs that are coming down 30 to 40%. That's a harbinger for what we think earnings will do for this stock. We will know in 3 years whether or not this is a good design or a bad design. Until then, we can do the debate. I don't think that matters.
But Jed, the stock's down 6% today, and certainly, at least from the pushback from the critic side of things, the design is exactly why this stock might not become mainstream and is being seen as niche. Who is actually going to buy this truck?
God, you're talking about a truck that's going to be launched in 3 years. That, yeah, you'll put some orders in, and by the way, the orders are only $100. So I don't think that I'm just giving you my perspective. I don't think this matters for this stock, whether it's going up or whether it's going down. And I would say that most of the analysts that are focused on the design here, I think that's going to be a red herring.
Jed, how big of a deal is it, the demo, the throwing of the ball and the windows cracking? How big of a gaffe is that?
Yeah, I thought it was I thought it was a failure. I think that they are getting more publicity, but I think that, frankly, when you demo something, you leave nothing to chance, and you make sure it's rehearsed, as Steve Jobs would often do. So that was a swing and a miss there.
Mike, the move in the stock today, certainly we see big moves in Tesla. That's not unusual.
It's not unusual, and it has been levitating on, really in a vacuum of incremental new news. So I think this maybe shows you that the latest bit of this move was really not attached to the pricing of expectations for this truck, I don't think. I just think it was kind of this adverse headline. It seemed like it took some of the air out of the enthusiasm just behind the general brand. I don't think anybody buying it or selling it today was doing it because of the prospects for this product line, which barely exists.
All right, Jed Dorsheimer.
Strategy that's been happening on these events.
Okay, Jed Dorsheimer, thanks for joining us.
Meantime, Karuna Therapeutics has been one of the hottest stocks on the street recently and rallying again today. Meg Terrell has some reasons why. Hey, Meg.
Hey, Carl. Well, the stock is bouncing back today after a decline yesterday following the company's secondary offering. But, guys, these moves are nothing compared to the stock's almost 400% gain earlier this week on positive data for Karuna's experimental drug for schizophrenia. We talked with CEO Dr. Steve Paul today on Power Lunch.
Very nice effect in terms of the magnitude of the antipsychotic effect. And again, without the troubling side effects of the current standards of care, no weight gain, no sedation, none of the motor movement problems.
And guys, the next step, of course, is proving the same effects in a larger phase 3 study, which the company says it aims to start next year. Meanwhile, Wall Street is already speculating this company may be an M&A target. Back over to you.
Meg, it does seem like we've seen, this is the second example in recent weeks of a promising either trial or announcement of a trial and then outsized gains that day, right?
Absolutely. Biotech sentiment is improving dramatically right now, guys. I'm hearing from a lot of folks who are at conferences who are saying things are looking up. And it's really interesting that it's coming at this timing because Washington is really cracking down on drug prices and people are really afraid of that. But when you see good data, when you see new drugs being approved way ahead of schedule by the FDA, which we just saw with an Alnylam drug and we saw just recently with the Vertex drug as well, these are all good signs for the industry and sentiment really is improving right now.
Meg, thank you. Barbara, your take either on Karuna or just moves you've seen in healthcare more broadly?
Well, it's interesting that biotech, when you get to phase 3, and you haven't been there yet, I think it's always risky, to either buy these stocks, you hold it if you own it, but you're taking a risk there. And in healthcare in general, there's been lots of good stocks that are below where they were 6 months ago for political purposes and for political reasons. And some have recovered, but I'm still not tempted because I still think, Mike did the chart on the volatility around the March primaries, and I think we still have more to go to see if, Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders, get even more traction, and then we get more concerned about healthcare.
Shares of Foot Locker, meantime, are falling despite stronger than expected profit and same-store sales. And Courtney Reagan takes a closer look at that stock for us. Hey, Courtney.
Hi, Morgan. So Foot Locker put up better than expected earnings and comparable sales. Those comps were up a strong 5.7%. So the results initially sent shares higher pre-market. But then on the conference call, the athletic retailer issued some pretty disappointing holiday quarter sales and full-year sales guidance, as well as full-year earnings guidance that sent the stock lower. And while back to school was strong for the company, sales weakened as the quarter progressed. Management also noted more challenging apparel trends, excluding Nike and Jordan. Those tend to be a little stronger right now. Foot Locker also calling out a slowing logo trend. JP Morgan's Matt Boss says that could be most impactful for brands like Champion, Fila, and Tommy Hilfiger, and that had actually been something that had kind of seen a resurgence as well as that retro trend. So if that's slowing, watch out for a number of different names. Carl?
Hey, Cord, given the prints that we got this week from your beat, could we expect more color coming out of Black Friday a week from today?
I think the color that we get on Black Friday is going to be pretty general and pretty hard to nail down any real specific trends. I think a lot of retailers, even though the sales are spread out, still have their biggest days of the year on Black Friday. Now, it might be split between online and in-store, but even a name like Home Depot, not a traditional Black Friday name, their best sales day ever was Black Friday last year.
Wow.
But we didn't know that until several months later. So we'll see what we get.
Yeah, it's coming up on us. And, the thinking around retail this season, Barb, has been markdowns are controlled. Cold weather is helping a little bit here, right? We haven't heard that from every name.
No, we haven't. And you've got so many different cross currents as well. I mean, you look at Nordstrom, people got excited about that, but they still have big issues. They're still repositioning themselves. Their same-store sales were still down, which to me is always very telling. You've got negative same-store sales, even if this area is looking good or not. You've got to be very cautious. And even a name like Foot Locker. Foot Locker, they really depend on the right merchandise selection. Plus they have another issue where their core market, which is the youngsters, 25 or 15 to 24, who are now switching to buying more online directly from their brands. And they've had some of the big brands. So there's very different stories for a lot of the retail, so it's been hard to generalize. And some of the winners have started 5 years ago making the transition to multi-channel, and some are just getting started, so they may yet get there.
It's hard to know. And a huge gulf between how the market wants to value the acclaimed winners, the ones that have figured it out, and they're the big box, the ones that can kind of withstand any environment. And like Foot Locker, if you're in the mall, stock is dirt cheap, but the market doesn't care. It sells off when you have somewhat light guidance. It's 8 times earnings. Nobody cares. Gap, Urban, all those.
How much of the action around retail this week do you think illustrates overall market sentiment, right?
Yeah, I think it's similar in a sense of people would rather buy quality at a higher price than buy kind of beat up, secularly challenged type businesses for a trade.
Barbara, I'm hearing you talk about this idea of winners and losers. Are you actually invested in retail, or are there names that you like right now?
I've been invested in Lululemon, has been a favorite because I just think, and I've talked about it before, but they're just firing on all cylinders. It looks like that can continue because that's always you wonder if they, like Foot Locker, it only seems to have merchandising, the one lever to pull. Something like Lululemon has international growth, more footage, more product lines, all this sort of thing. So, I like that. I've had Nike for a long time. I own names like Costco, Walmart, so I really stick to the ones where I see they have great management, they have a plan to move forward.
Yeah. That's a good list. Meantime, Mike, let's look at the market internals as we got a couple minutes to the closing bell.
They're sturdier today than they have been in the past few days. If you look at the breadth for the New York Stock Exchange, up and down stocks, obviously we have up indexes, but some days this week, even when the market's been up, you've had the majority of stocks down. No, 17 to 11 ratio up to down. That's pretty good. That's a little bit of a bounce. Small caps outperforming as well. We were talking about biotech earlier. Look at week to date, this relationship here, biotech against semiconductors. It shows you some rotation going on. They're both kind of risk-seeking areas, growth investors. Semis are coming off a high, and biotech's getting bid right here. And then finally, the VIX year to date, we're bumping along the bottom. If you want to squint and say we've kind of made a low at the 12 level and are turning up, maybe. To me, that just looks like a steady, kind of calm market for the foreseeable at the moment.
Okay, let's send it over to Bertha for the action at the NASDAQ. Bertha.
Well, it's continuing on that theme. The semis are the worst performing sector here this week, helping the NASDAQ snap that 7-week winning streak. And KLA is the worst performer. This stock was at an all-time high following earnings last week, and it's now in correction from there. Yet again, it's still up about 80% for the year. A lot of investors seem to be rotating into those beaten down sectors like software. It's one of the winners this week, up about 1%, up for the 5th straight week. Splunk, one of the best performers there. And biotech up for 8 straight weeks. One of the big winners this week, Medicines Company, after a good trial data on a cholesterol drug. Over to Bob.
And Bertha, market moving this week, mostly on macro news that's trade related. We're down fractionally, but much too early to get bearish on the market. Retail, one of the few sectors that actually moved on sector specific news. We actually had a couple of companies move up as the expectations were low. Look at Buckle here. Simon Property Group, we'll start with that one there. That's a new 52-week low for Simon Property Group, and that's the downside of the whole retail environment. Big mall developer there. Buckle did better than expected overall, and that stock moved up. Believe it or not, Buckle's at a 52-week high. Nordstrom, though, also doing a little bit better, but remember, that stock down more than 20%. There's the closing bell. Dow Jones Industrial Average just off the highs today, 108 points. S&P 500 up 6.
Welcome to the closing bell. I'm Carl Quintanilla in for Wilfred Frost.
And I'm Morgan Brennan in for Sarah Eisen, along with Mike Santoli, CNBC's senior markets commentator.
You heard Bob bring you the Dow there, the S&P, the NASDAQ, and the Russell. As the data today, pretty constructive, whether it was the market PMIs or Michigan sentiment. Obviously, trade hopes helping as well.
Yeah, financials and consumer discretionary, the best performing sectors in the S&P today, whereas real estate and energy were the worst performing. All the major averages actually finished the week slightly lower. But joining us to talk about the market day, Barbara Duran, Senior Portfolio Manager at BD8 Capital Partners, is still with us, along with Terry Spath, Chief Investment Officer at Sierra Mutual Funds. But first, Mike Santoli, I'll start with you. Given what we've seen in the market this week, resting or rolling over?
Yeah, I can see it both ways. I mean, obviously it's flattened out, slowed down in the last 10 days or so. I see that there's a fair bit of selling under the surface, so I think a lot of stocks in leading sectors look like they're rolling over. On the other hand, you could look at the same exact set of data and say, well, we've relieved some of the overbought conditions. Sentiment got overexcited, but has kind of cooled off a little bit, and you can just have one of these stealth pullbacks as opposed to a real one. I'm not sure exactly how it plays out from here, although I will say if you do, and don't be surprised if you get the indexes following the majority of stocks into a pullback here, but anything that's, up to like a 3 or 4% from here in the S&P is probably not going to kind of disturb the picture of a decent rally that we've had going since August. So it probably is just a pullback, and maybe we're due for one, but I don't think it would be the big one.
Terry, I'll put the same question to you. As we finish out the final weeks of 2019, higher or lower from here?
I don't think that we need to make bets. We're advising against making big bets one way or the other. There's just too much uncertainty that's still out there that's binary. So we don't know what's going to happen with trade. It could go in either direction. We don't know what's happening on Capitol Hill. There's still too much uncertainty, I think, out there to make a big bet one way or the other. So we're just sort of towing the line in this environment, which I think, to Mike's point, there's still a lot of under the surface stuff going on that doesn't support too much of a rally going forward.
But what does towing the line mean? How should investors be positioned in this market right now?
Well, we want to keep, we're keeping airbags essentially in the car. We want to make sure that we have trailing stops under everything that we own. We're fully invested. we're not taking a lot of chips off the table, but we're not also going to put a lot of money into risk on right now, just because I don't think you're getting paid for that risk in the markets that we see. And so just staying more neutral in portfolios, a little bit boring, but sometimes doing boring well is what we're good at. So that's where we're sitting right now.
Barb, the bulls still argue going into year end that everyone's postured defensively, right? And there will be a chase in December. What's wrong with that thesis?
Well, I think the fact is that people are positioned defensively, which is a good thing, in terms of the market continuing to move higher, because people have made money, they've done well this fall, but now I think it's interesting that biotech was up 8 weeks in a row. That to me is a risk on trade. And so that says that there's a little bit of animal spirits there, very little. And all we need is some positive news on trade, and it will probably be some very weekend. We're not doing anything more right now. And I think it provides an underpinning to the market, because the earnings that we're looking for next year, we're not going to see till next year. So we're done with this, pretty much earnings season. So
I think there's some nuance to the positioning question, whether people are defensive or not. The shorter term tactical people who are always in the market, are always looking for the next trade, they got overexcited, right? If you look at the kind of options traders and the people who are very tactical, I definitely think that they were racing it into the highs. Now, longer term money, long short hedge funds still seem very lightly exposed to stocks and not really positioned. Maybe that's why the dips have been so shallow in the last couple of weeks.
It has been difficult to get this market suppressed and keep it suppressed. Guys, thanks. We are watching this WeWork employee meeting in the wake of those layoffs announced yesterday. Deirdre Bosa has some details on that. Deirdre?
Hey, Carla, source that was at the meeting tells me that Executive Chairman Marcelo Clary, he spoke for over an hour outlining WeWork's strategy just a day after laying off 2,400 employees. He said the startup aims to be adjusted EBITDA profitable by 2021 and free cash flow positive by 2023. To get there, Clary said that they would look at things like more JVs and franchising. Still, it is difficult to see how they get there, considering the company lost more than $1 billion last quarter. I was also told that there was no mention of Adam Newman at the meeting. Rather, most of the focus was on that magic word of the month, profitability. Back to you.
Deirdre, I realize that Clary was laying out a 5-year plan here, but is this the first time we've heard projections for free cash flow and some of these other numbers?
Yes, that is the first time. We did hear a plan before this. Remember, they made a presentation about a 90-day plan, but this was before SoftBank's rescue package. So the one that he laid out today, 6 sort of strategic focus areas, is new. And certainly those two numbers, the 2 years, 2021 and 2023 for free cash flow positive, were new today.
Deirdre, thank you. Mike Santoli, free cash flow positive 2023. How do you think? How do you think that's going to be received?
To me, the interesting part of that is how many of these companies are now essentially targeting, not next year, but the year after next, that they're going to basically cut back enough to try and harvest some cash flow.
But even then, we're seeing some of those names continue to sell off. And I realize WeWork is private and is being bailed out by SoftBank right now, but...
No, that's exactly right. And I do think that's because they haven't really demonstrated the path to even do that much. But I think more broadly, even private companies, you have to figure they're going to try to prepare themselves to look like they have a better financial model. And what does that mean for the spending on ancillary things?
You're talking enterprise software or what? Cloud?
I don't know if it's going to be big enough that it's going to, kind of swing the entire demand story around. But it is interesting that there's this retrenchment feeling as opposed to growth at any cost.
All right. Well, it's been a wild week for the market. Bob Pisani looks at the biggest winners and losers on Wall Street. Bob.
Mostly moving on macro news, like I said, but retail was an exception this week. Home Depot is one of the great winners this year, but it was down about 8% on the week on somewhat disappointing retail news. Kohl's dropped 20% this week. This is not a new low, believe it or not. I'll give you an indication of what some disappointment will do. The retail winners this year, they're all discounters. Target, Costco, Ross Stores, TJX. Look at these moves up. The bottom line is this. The losers, the department stores and the apparel stores, have dropped so much, they're mid-caps at this point. Gap, $6 billion. Nordstrom, $5 billion. Macy's, $4 billion. Target is a $64 billion market cap, just by comparisons. How the mighty have fallen. Back to you.
Bob Pisani, thank you. Terry. Retail, we've been talking a lot about it with earnings this week, winners and losers. What do you think of the sector more broadly, and is it a good gauge of the consumer right now?
Well, you definitely have to pick your spots in retail, and I think that there's been a lot of coverage. You guys have done a great job on this and talking about the strength of the consumer in the U.S. and because of, low unemployment and decent wage growth. But I think that what's sometimes getting missed right now is, despite the fact that we have strength in the consumer, there's been this response to low interest rates that has resulted in just ballooning of corporate debt and a ballooning of federal debt. And so I think that that's going to weigh on the economy going forward and slow economic growth. And so as strong as the consumer might be, I'm not sure that they can overcome that in terms of the longer term growth and certainly in the earnings going forward. So you have to pick your spots in retail, and I think be really cognizant of the fact that just because the consumer's strong doesn't mean the whole economy is going to continue to just muscle forward.
Terry, claims this week, highest 2-week average in about 5 months. Do you think that's a tell on the consumer or not?
Yeah, Carl, good question. That's one of the things that we watch very closely, obviously, is the unemployment rate. And until that 12-month moving average moves above the current level, which it's not, then the trend is still quite strong in our view for unemployment. And so, again, I think the consumer is strong in general in terms of jobs, but I don't think that necessarily is going to translate into robust economic growth or earnings growth for the next year.
Barbara, Terry, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Morgan.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
Still ahead, with a failed demonstration of Tesla's bulletproof glass on its new Cybertruck shatter the vehicle's reputation? Walter Isaacson looks back at the impact of other big tech product fails. Closing bell, we'll be right back.
For the independent bookseller who found you that first edition.
For the baker who brings the smell of freshly baked breads to your door.
And for the barista who never needs to ask your name.
We've all got a part to play.
Every little tap keeps your high street alive.
And helps your communities thrive.
So if you love where you live, shop small.
Shopping on your local high street can make a big difference. Shop small. Only by American Express.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like for reals. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
If you're planning on driving this weekend, expect delays on the A406 North Circular Road. There'll be road closures between Tottenham and Edmonton from 10 p.m. on Friday the 22nd of November to 5 a.m. on Monday the 25th of November, while we carry out essential maintenance and repairs. All roads in the surrounding area will be extremely busy, so please allow more time for your journey and expect delays in the area. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
The reveal of Tesla's Cybertruck, marked by its failed demonstration of the truck's alleged bulletproof windows. It is not the first company to have a demo go wrong. Take a look back at some of these other tech fails.
We're in a 360 video in Puerto Rico, and hold on a second. We're on a bridge here. It's flooded.
Now, unlocking it is as easy as looking at it and swiping up. And, let's try that again. Let's go to backup here.
You could help me out if you're on Wi-Fi, if you could just get off. Well, geez, I don't like this. All right, let's go back to primaries. I'm afraid I have a problem, and I'm not going to be able to show you much here today.
Let's plug it in. It's going to say, hey, I see you've plugged in a new device, and it's going to load in the appropriate drivers. You'll notice that this scanner build,
That must be why we're not shipping Windows 98 yet.
Absolutely.
For more, let's bring in CNBC contributor Walter Isaacson, advisory partner at Perella Weinberg, professor at Tulane, also the author, of course, of Steve Jobs. Walter, it is great to see you. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Thanks, Carl.
That was a great piece of tape. I'll tell you, people still today are in disbelief that someone as careful as Elon Musk would have let this happen at this demo last night. You believe, I assume, that it was not intentional.
Oh, I don't think it was intentional, but even the fact that you have to ask shows it's not going to be the end of the world. It went viral. It sort of made everybody look at it. And by the way, yeah, windows are going to shatter occasionally. I remember being at that Steve Jobs demonstration you showed on the clip when the Wi-Fi was clogging up and everything else. There's an old saying in tech you're familiar with, which is you got to make sacrifices to the demo gods because the demo gods are out to get you. I think this is cool. And by the way, I like Pauline Brown. She's a friend of mine, but I disagree with her. I think the design of this is pretty spectacular, this truck.
Really? All right, so who's the natural buyer?
Well, I think it's got to be sort of an early adopter, somebody who's going to want to make a statement, because it's not like buying, an F-150 where you want to be part of the crowd that drives a pickup truck like that. I think there are a lot of people who are going to want electric, want to make a statement, going to have an off-road vehicle, and we'll see. I mean, the problem is it could have that DeLorean car launch problem, the Back to the Future design, and, it's got to be something that'll catch on. But just personally, I loved it.
I'm in the same camp as you, Walter. I thought it was kind of cool, too. I don't own a pickup truck. I've never been, sort of the key demographic for a pickup truck, which I think kind of begs the question, though, is this going to be niche, or is this going to be something that, speaks to a much wider, broader audience?
Oh, I think there'll be a niche quality to it, just like, by the way, Apple is a niche product in many ways, especially over the course of its history. But it's very cool to have a guy like Elon Musk focusing on the importance of design and doing it with physical products. I mean, nowadays, anybody can make an app. You can do it in your dorm room or garage. You can do software. You can do services. But doing things like a battery or a car with a molded frame around a cage or a truck like this, that's really pushing the envelope, especially with the batteries, too. And so you've got to just be cheering for the innovators.
Walter, you talk about the natural buyer being someone who wants to make a statement, be an early adopter. It sounds niche, right? I mean, I can't assume, I can't imagine you believe this will be a volume product.
No, it won't be, and I'm not sure any Teslas are going to be volume products. I don't own a Tesla, but if I could, I would. I think that when you're doing an electric vehicle, you're pushing the edge of design. I'm not sure. I didn't see the numbers. I'm sure they probably didn't predict numbers. But I would suspect that even Tesla is going to say this is not a mass market product at the outset.
Walter, of course, it's going to beg the question, though, can they get this truck out in the time frame that they've just laid out?
That's something that Musk has not proven that he can do. He's got a lot of vision, but vision without execution is hallucination. This is a gorgeous vehicle. It kind of looks like a hallucination at times. We've seen how Tesla has missed the nuts and bolts production of it. You can go back in the history of innovation. And by the way, even with Steve Jobs, when he did the original Macintosh, there was sort of the problem then of just getting things out the door, marketing it, pricing it right. And so he stepped aside for a decade. Likewise, Intel in the early days had problems. They bring in an Andy Grove. The thing about Elon Musk and Tesla is he's got a lot of vision. We got to see what the execution is going to be like.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're not done talking about the Cybertruck. Walter Isaacson, thanks for joining us. And we've heard it compared now to the DeLorean and the Gremlin.
That's true.
All right, still ahead. We're wrapping up. There it is, the Gremlin. Still ahead, we're wrapping up our Watch This Space series. We'll discuss the biggest opportunities for space investment and the potential pitfalls with XPRIZE founder Peter Diamandis.
And then later, Netflix and chill. It's a big weekend for the entertainment world with The Irishman taking over Little Italy, Frozen 2 hitting theaters. We'll discuss that when Closing Bell returns.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like 4Reels. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
Hey, can't watch the big NBA game because your life's just too busy? I've got some news for you. TuneIn Premium is the answer to all your problems. Hear every home and away game live or on demand everywhere you go. Just search NBA to listen.
Some days life can get in the way of catching up on the news that moves your world. TuneIn is here to help. With live 24/7 coverage from CNN wherever you go on the TuneIn app, you can always find a slice of your schedule, however long, to check in on the biggest stories of the day.
Hell hath no fury. The president's counselor went on a rampage on a taped phone call with Washington Examiner reporter.
Search CNN on TuneIn to get the live news when it matters most.
Don't want to miss a second of your NFL team's next matchup? Let TuneIn remind you. Just make sure notifications are enabled on your phone and search for your team profile on the TuneIn app. Then, find the game you want under events and tap Notify Me. We'll send you an alert as soon as live coverage begins.
Right now, instead of hearing this, you could be listening to the music that keeps you moving with TuneIn Premium. Find today's biggest songs and all of your favorites commercial-free. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
For the net, scores! Along the goal line, Marchand scores!
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
And tucks it home!
And with this team, it's really fun to be a part of a team like that.
And you can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium. From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today. College football is live on TuneIn. Listen for free to games from more than 140 schools all season long.
To the 10, all the way to the checkerboard. But he stays on his feet and scores.
Number 2 Ohio State looks to clinch the Big Ten Eastern Title Division outright and a spot in the Big Ten Conference Championship game as they host the 9th-ranked Penn State Nittany Lions in Columbus. This Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Listen to every call and every game of your school all season long for free on TuneIn. Penn State at Ohio State. Just search college to listen today.
Welcome back to Closing Bell. Let's send it over to Mike Santoli for his third dashboard of the day. Mike.
Morgan, yeah, the headline indexes have been telling a pretty good story, down less than 1% from their highs, going pretty much sideways. But the message of the mass of stocks, that kind of broad collection of names, somewhat different, a little bit of a divergence that people are watching right here. In blue, this is the net number of daily new highs. So it's number of new highs minus new lows. Obviously, it's kind of faltered. It sort of got to the top of this range and has pulled back. This is as of about a day ago, and shows you that the market, the index itself, has continued higher. Now, that's a little bit of a cautionary sign. It shows you there's kind of this pull of profit taking and tax loss selling. A lot of names not participating. However, I do want to point out that we've gotten to these points before where it's reached a ceiling in terms of net new highs and it's trended a bit lower, while the S&P has managed to go higher that year 2016 and 17. So it's not decisive about what the indexes do, but it shows you probably need some good rotation to happen if you're not going to have a kind of greater majority of stocks participating to the upside, guys.
Yeah, and rotations into the right areas, right?
Without a doubt, yeah. The bigger areas, healthcare, for example, starting to carry the load right now. So see if that continues as tech takes a breather.
All right, well, the Bears are the Bulls. The Bears are certainly going to use this as evidence that something's going wrong.
Because, by the way, the Bulls were saying, hey, guess what? Cumulative breadth is confirming the new highs. It's been a really broad rally, and that's kind of come back down the last couple of weeks.
That's a good one to watch, Mike. Thanks. Well, next we are wrapping up our Watch This Space series, how to best play the sector, and a look behind the billionaire space race. We're going to break down Bezos, Branson, Musk's big intergalactic bets with X-Prize founder Pia Diamandis when he joins us when Closing Bell returns. Oh, and by the way, Musk just responding on Twitter to the Cybertruck news. We'll get you that after the break.
At Lidl, we're big on all those Christmas parties. The season to be jolly. Try our party time Indian snack selection for only $2.99. And our party time mac and cheese bites for just $1.19. Big on a Christmas you can believe in. Now that's big on quality and always little on price. Subject to availability, selected stores excludes an eye.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like for reals. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
If you're planning on driving this weekend, expect delays on the A406 North Circular Road. There'll be road closures between Tottenham and Edmonton from 10 p.m. on Friday the 22nd of November to 5 a.m. on Monday the 25th of November, while we carry out essential maintenance and repairs. All roads in the surrounding area will be extremely busy, so please allow more time for your journey and expect delays in the area. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
At Ring, we've reinvented the doorbell. So no matter where you are, you can watch over your home and the things you care about. Ring Video Doorbell streams HD video and two-way talk straight to your phone, so you can speak to whoever's at your door from anywhere.
Delivery.
Oh, great. Could you leave it with my neighbour, please?
Sure, no problem.
See, hear and speak to whoever's at your door from wherever you are with Ring Video Doorbell. For exclusive Black Friday offers on selected video doorbells and cameras, visit ring.com and major retailers.
Bootlegs out to the left, looking to the left, firing, caught, 10, 5, touchdown!
NFL fans, the action continues this weekend on TuneIn Premium. This Sunday, TuneIn has every NFL football game, starting with the Miami Dolphins at the Cleveland Browns at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern, and closing out Sunday night with the Packers at the 49ers at 8:20 p.m. Eastern. At home or on the go, hear the home and away call of every NFL game this season on TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today.
Welcome back to Closing Bell. It's the video we've been showing all day. The Cybertruck's unbreakable glass shattered last night in demo. Tesla CEO Elon Musk just tweeting, quote, "We threw same steel ball at same window several times right before event and didn't even scratch the glass." Guys, it's maybe that's why. Maybe they just kept throwing that ball at the same panel of glass and it started to weaken it. Either way, it's certainly been the talk of Twitter and CNBC, and certainly given a lot more attention to Cybertruck today.
You put too much on the pitch. Who knows how they
material fatigue
tested it? Yeah, right.
Could be. Let's get a CNBC News update with Sue Herrera back at HQ in the meantime. Hi, Sue.
Hello, Carl. Hello, everyone. Here's what's happening at this hour. A former CIA case agent has been sentenced to 19 years in prison for an espionage conspiracy with China charge. 55-year-old Jerry Lee was sentenced in federal court in Alexandria after his guilty plea entered earlier this year. Jerry Sandusky has been resentenced to 30 to 60 years in prison, the same as his original sentencing. He was convicted of 45 counts of child sexual abuse in 2012. An appeals court said laws mandating sentence minimums in place at the time had since changed. Sandusky again asserted his innocence. And during his visit to New Zealand, Prince Charles ignored a question about his younger brother, Prince Andrew. The prince and his wife Camilla visited Christchurch, where reporters asked him from a distance if his brother should talk to authorities investigating the late Jeffrey Epstein. And here at home, Jane Fonda taking part in another Friday protest calling for a cleaner environment. She has been leading the demonstrations in Washington for several weeks, getting arrested during many of those protests. Capitol Police today arrested actress Diane Lane, among others, as they blocked the street. You are up to date. That's the news update, guys. Have a great weekend. Back to you, Carl.
All right, you too, Sue. Thanks. Still ahead, up in smoke, the president meeting with tobacco executives, vaping advocates, and public health groups at the White House today. We're going to dig in on the key vaping meeting with the CEO of cannabis and hemp brand company Vertical Wellness, Smoke Wallen. Don't go anywhere.
If you're planning on driving this weekend, expect delays on the A406 North Circular Road. There'll be road closures between Tottenham and Edmonton from 10 p.m. on Friday the 22nd of November to 5 a.m. on Monday the 25th of November, while we carry out essential maintenance and repairs. All roads in the surrounding area will be extremely busy, so please allow more time for your journey and expect delays in the area. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Be better informed, be better prepared. The Better Network is on TuneIn. This is Brent Musburger. Search BETR and start hanging out with me and my guys in the desert weekday afternoons. The Better Network is now on TuneIn.
Pascal gobbles up the rebound and slams it down.
Catch your favorite NBA team right here on TuneIn.
A step back deep three is up and in.
Search NBA on TuneIn and hear all the action. The NBA lives on TuneIn.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? We've got you covered. With TuneIn Premium, you can listen to every NFL game live as it's happening.
LaShawn McCoy has an opening on the right side, punches into the end zone for the touchdown.
Or catch it later on demand.
Offset backs behind Mahomes. The give is to Williams. Starts right, cuts it back to the left, and flows into the end zone for the touchdown.
You call the plays. Follow the NFL anytime, anywhere, all season long with TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless.
Follow at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
From ESPN and the award-winning producers of The Sterling Affairs comes the latest season of 30 for 30 podcasts. 4 brand new stories of espionage.
He wanted this team to be the Barcelona of women's basketball.
Resilience.
I started to scream. I tried to get away.
Corruption.
It's the culture of win at all costs.
And rebirth.
How will we ever rebuild it?
30 for 30 Podcasts, Season 6. Listen in favorite 30 for 30 podcasts on TuneIn.
Catch the latest news as it happens with MSNBC on TuneIn. From American politics to global events, when breaking news hits, you'll never miss a moment again. Search MSNBC on TuneIn to hear the latest.
You're listening to TuneIn, where you can hear all the audio you love in one place. Live NFL games, the hottest music, breaking news, and podcasts. Push play and go about your day, only on TuneIn.
It has been a big week here on Closing Bell as we've dug into what could be Wall Street's next trillion-dollar industry, space. Here's what some of our experts had to say on how to watch this space.
This is a thing that has captured the curiosity and the imagination of many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and probably millions of people around the world. And starting in the middle of next year, we will start to service that demand.
We see the opportunity in the imagery and analysis.
Great growth opportunities are in the what we think of as the Earth intelligence space, which is a combination of the satellite imagery and the data analytics.
The president likes to say, rich guys love rockets. Well, we're giving rich guys, and by the way, private equity and even institutional investors opportunities to partner with NASA in these capabilities.
It is sort of the kind of quintessential high-value asset that you would want to own for many, many years.
For more, let's bring in our final Space Week guest, Peter Diamandis, founder of the X Prize, co-founder of Bold Capital Partners, and author of the upcoming book, The Future is Faster Than You Think. Peter, thanks for joining us today.
A pleasure to be here.
So back in 1994, you awarded the first X Prize, and it was to the company that basically laid the foundation for Virgin Galactic, which just went publicly here recently. This whole quote-unquote new space era has been decades in the making. Are we finally at the point of saying it's here?
When you have real revenues being made in real private companies that are capitalized by investors and venture funds, yes, it's here. It's going the same course as we've seen a lot of government programs that become commercialized. And people will forget the fact that the internet, which we think of as this like massive $1 trillion amazing economy, used to be a government program, right? It was ARPANET. And then we built the systems on top of that, and entrepreneurs do what entrepreneurs best. They make it cheaper, faster, better, more reliable. and boom, we have a growing internet economy. And I think the same is ultimately going to happen with space. We're going from space as a government program to entrepreneurial opportunities on the high frontier.
I hear this comparison to the internet a lot. There are so many different companies mushrooming up right now, focused on so many different aspects of the sector and different industries. Where do you see the biggest opportunities?
So space breaks down into the following categories. Communications has always been one of the most profitable segments in geostationary orbit. We're about to see a new generation of satellites. OneWeb, a friend of mine, Greg Weiler's company, O3B. We've got Starlink. We've got Kuiper. Starlink is SpaceX. Kuiper is Blue Origin. So these are going to be thousands, tens of thousands of satellites blanketing the Earth, giving us global gigabit connection speeds everywhere. There's another business, which is Earth imaging, where we're going to have hundreds and thousands of satellites imaging the Earth at sub-meter resolution and meter resolution, seeing where cars are moving, seeing which in infrared, which buildings are not properly insulated, seeing all kinds of things. So imaging is a company there is called Planet Labs, or Planet, which is doing an amazing job. And then it's going to be passenger travel, and then resources, metals, minerals, energy, real estate, everything we hold of value here on Earth in near infinite quantities in space.
So Peter, then, I mean, when you look at, there's been X Prize awards, but overall, to get to this point, a lot of it has been funded by billionaires. And I think a lot of the reason is that it takes time, it takes a lot of capital to be able to get to the point of having a self-sustaining business. Now we're starting to see venture capital and Wall Street come in here as well. What do investors, some of these newer investors to aerospace, need to know or need to be aware of in terms of the risks in this sector?
So, yeah, we're finally at a time, like you said, where venture capital is coming in because it sees the profit potential, and we're seeing large conglomerates, sovereign wealth funds coming in, as well as Wall Street. So the reality is it's still a bit of a lumpy business. In the long term, it'll smooth out. I mean, we're going to start to see Virgin Galactic with Spaceship Two making regular flights. They have a large backlog of people like myself who are clients who want to go. And those first flights will beget interest from other people. But up until now, space has been, a dozen events per year, 20 events per year. We'll see in some of the experimental systems we just saw with starships, with Elon's Starship. There was a small failure in a demo version, and it's important to realize that a failure in one system from one company does not relate to another system. These companies and these systems, like Falcon 9, has become an extraordinarily reliable launch vehicle as you fly them more and more. And the more that you fly them, the more data you get, the more robust they get, and the more we can start to count on them and build businesses around them.
Hey, Peter, if we consider Branson, Bezos, and Musk sort of Team USA, for lack of a better word, who's on our tail?
So, without question, the Chinese see space as a massive frontier. You have to remember that over the next 20 years, we're going to make humanity multiplanetary species. And the reason that we speak English here in America, and why I love this lingua franca is English around the world, is because the UK had the sailing ships and became the exploring nation, right? In Portugal with Brazil and so forth. So we're on the precipice of us moving into space, going permanently to the moon, going to Mars, going and creating colonies in space. And the question is, which companies and which countries are going to lead that way? 50 years ago, it was the Soviet Union versus the United States. I would say today it's U.S. as a government and private companies with Chinese companies that are trying to mimic what SpaceX has done with reusability, following soon thereafter.
Peter Diamandis, thanks for joining us. And check out his upcoming book, The Future is Faster Than You Think.
Thank you.
President Trump meeting with vaping industry and tobacco executives at the White House today amid a heated debate on how to tackle a teen vaping epidemic. Let's bring in Eamon Javers at the White House for more on this story. Eamon.
Yeah, Morgan, the debate around the country has been heated. The debate inside the White House today was heated as well, as some of the industry executives clashed with health advocates and others. The surprise guest here was Mitt Romney, who attended this, the senator from Utah, not necessarily seen as a Trump ally, but sitting side by side with the president. Romney clashing a bit here with some of the vaping executives and advocates in the room, saying this is all about children's safety. Here's what he said.
They're not all going to all go out of business because they can't sell flavors. They're not all going to go out of business. Some may. That would be unfortunate, but some may. But don't recognize, if there are 50,000 employees, full-time equivalents at vaping shops, you've got 5.5 million kids. You're talking about 100 kids addicted for one employee, typically minimum wage. I put the kids first, all right? It's over 100 kids per full-time equivalent employee.
So interesting to watch this in real time. Cameras had access to about an hour of this meeting. One of the vaping industry executives told the president that Mayor Bloomberg is sponsoring the vaping opposition, and Bloomberg's no friend of the president. He might run against him as a Democrat next year for the presidency, clearly trying to appeal to the president on political grounds there. Some of the health advocates arguing back, saying, hey, Mr. President, we like the idea that you put out back in September that the White House has now seemed to maybe back away from a little bit. They're suggesting you were right the first time, sir. So both sides here really trying to appeal directly, personally to the president to try to win him over. Not clear where he's going to land. He said at the end, though, we've got to protect the kids, guys.
Yeah, Eamon, it sounded pretty spicy. Thank you. Eamon Javers outside the White House. Joining us for more on what this means for the industry is Smoke Wallen, CEO of cannabis and hemp brand company Vertical Wellness. Smoke, thanks for the time this afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
Some of the headlines that came out of it, according to the president, saying that he looked back at the era of prohibition and found that bans result in more illegal use. It does sound like the vaping industry got something out of this meeting.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I mean, I came from the alcohol beverage industry before I got into the hemp and CBD business, and we know what the great experiment, the prohibition, resulted in, and it criminalized America, and it didn't work. And so, you know, the idea of like just banning stuff probably is not the right path, but obviously we all care about kids and we don't want them to be using these products. But, you know, a regulated market that's in the open is probably in everyone's interest.
Is the industry ready for, say, a hard 21 minimum age and enforcement that we've not seen before?
Yeah, look, I came out of the alcohol beverage industry. I was chairman of the Wine and Spirits Wholesalers of America. We live with the 21 and over age. And I think that's a logical, sensible approach to it. You know, I mean, we're growing hemp. You know, so I'm in the hemp CBD business, which obviously is on the periphery of this whole discussion. But based on your last discussion, I'm thinking about growing some hemp in space. By the way.
I think there's definitely some experiments going on around beer in space. So we'll see how that one goes. Smoke, to go back to, I realized that the focus today at the White House was on teen vaping and the crackdown there, but we have seen this health situation, this health crisis that's transpired around vaping as well, and largely linked to the black market. Do you expect that there's going to be more regulation or more discussion, more focus on how that plays out as well?
Yeah, of course. Look, everybody obviously feels for the victims of this and the tragedy of losing, I think we're up to 67 lives and, you know, a couple thousand people that have been injured by these products. But so far, everything's been attributed to black market products. And it's, for me, it's a case for a regulated market, you know, to have a clear regulated market where everybody knows where product is coming from, and you're not buying from the illicit market. And, you know, the idea that you can buy these different oils online and fill up your own carts, you know, that's got to go away. Like, we've got to educate these kids or consumers in general, you know, not to do that and to buy from a regulated product. And, you know, for one example, we've worked with a company called Solo Sciences, which, you know, tracks every SKU. And you can do a QR code, you can scan them, and you know exactly where that product came from, and it verifies that it's a legitimate product. The black market is the problem here. So I'm glad there's a good debate, and I know there's lots of sides of the issue, but for sure, a regulated market is in everyone's interest.
Yeah. We're in a weird time, Smoke, because on the one hand, regulation is eyeing the vaping business, but just this week, House Judiciary passes this bill to decriminalize marijuana at the federal level. So there's a lot of layers going on.
Oh, for sure. And look, what we're seeing is, what our grandparents, I guess, experienced during Prohibition. There was a big debate. They repealed Prohibition, but the only way to do it, because there was lots of disagreement, lots of different opinions, and the only way to repeal Prohibition was to let each state regulate the alcohol within their borders, right? And that's really what's going to happen most likely with the cannabis world. And we've already got 33 states that have legalized cannabis and 11 states that have gone rec legal. And, this genie's out of the bottle. It's happening. The appropriate approach, I think, is local option, which is allowing states to, choose their rules within it. But then there's got to be some federal overlay that protects people, right? So that there's ingredients that don't belong in products. I mean, one example,